Theory and modern-day examples of them. Your presenter is Mark Laurie for Poll 493, Principles of Public Admin at California Baptist University. Wilson's dichotomy. It was a theory that was brought to us by Woodrow Wilson. And his theory was separation of the political process and the administrative process. Basically, the way I understand it is that where a politician will decide what to do, what needs to be done, where the administrator would decide how it's going to get done. His theory is keep them separate to better accomplish the task. Franklin Taylor's scientific management theory. This theory is pretty much based on hiring a person to do one specific job. That's all he does every day, start to finish. And it's done that way to have a more effective workplace rather than having one guy build a car from start to finish. You have one guy assemble the axle, one guy put the axle on the frame, one guy put the body on the frame, so on and so forth, like an assembly line as you see in the image on the slide. Because if one guy builds a car, it's going to take him a few weeks to complete. But when you have a guy that all he does all day is put on wheels, he probably put 10 to 20 sets of wheels on it in one day. And a good example of this we see in like distribution centers, where you have one guy that pulls orders all day, one guy that drives them, delivers them, then you have another guy come in and receives all the orders early in the morning, and then you have stockers that just stock the shelves. Gulick's Pobs Corp, I believe it's called. It's basically a theory that a standardized structure throughout a whole organization, just not one location, will strengthen the organization's ability to complete its tasks. And it's all standardized, so you take one person from here, put him over here with a different group of people, and he can fall right in line and complete the task. But in order for it to work, you need cooperation throughout a whole organization. One example, although it's not necessarily a public or government example, is at my current employer. Throughout the last year, they've had from corporate has been going around, and we're nationwide. They've been going around to each branch, and their first trip to each branch, they just observed, and then they came back around and they got all the good from each branch, and they made protocol and standards that each branch would now have to follow. So they could take me from my branch and send me to the branch the next city over. If manpower was not available there, they could pull me from here. I could go there, and I could step right in and do the job the exact same way I did at my everyday location, and I could do it over there without skipping a beat, because it's all standardized. Whether it stays standardized, I don't know, but that was the goal. Weber's bureaucracy. This is a theory developed by Max Weber, his bureaucratic theory, and it's basically based on rules and regulations that everybody follows to a T to complete the job for the good of the organization. And one example I have from experience is when I was in the Air Force as a Base Defense Operations Center controller, or BDOC controller as we called it. And we were selected to perform these duties because we were effective as military police officers on the roads, or as doing flight line security. And we knew our job, and even though we knew our job and we were capable of doing it proficiently, when we were performing these duties, we had to respond to every incident on the base, whether it's security or law enforcement. And no matter the incident, there was a certain set of rules and regulations and guidelines how we reacted to it, and we had to follow them to the T. There was no straying from it. If you strayed from it, you would no longer be in that position. Your certification will be pulled from you, and they'll find somebody else to do it. Villette's leadership or human relations theory. This theory is based on leadership through caring for your people, your workers, your subordinates. In one of the lecture slides, I saw a quote that I really liked. I have on here, power with, not power over. Now that I'm looking at it, I believe it was actually power with rather than power over. What I got out of this theory was teamwork and actually leading from the front. Like, you got from a military standpoint, you got your officers out on the front lines with the troops, not sitting back in the office listening to what's going on over the radio. One example from my experience of this is one of my supervisors when I was in the Air Force. And when we were at home station, it was very, very telling us what to do, how to fix it, how to do it right. Once we deployed, though, I think you see the difference, the separation from good supervisors and bad supervisors. And this one supervisor, I'm thinking, I'm going to leave his name out of this, but when we were deployed, he goes, hey, he got us all together, and he goes, hey guys, I just want you guys to know that the chain of command goes two ways. Yeah, it yells down, but it can also yell up. If you guys have a problem that needs fixing, you come to me and I will go up the chain of command, and I'll make sure it gets fixed. And that to me is good leadership, and that is human relations, and on that deployment, I thank God for that supervisor, because there was a lot of things that needed fixing, and he got it done for us. Simon's bounded rationality. This theory of bounded rationality is understanding decisions people make and how and why they made them. It's honestly, in my opinion, in order to understand how any one particular person in an organization makes a decision, you'd have to get into their head. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people, and a lot of people make some decisions that will keep me wondering for the rest of my life where their logic came from. And I went on YouTube and I watched the suggested video on Simon, and his theory. It was hard for me to understand, but I do understand the concept that in order to make decisions in an organization, we got to understand why we're making the decisions. Otherwise, they're just aimless decisions, and we shouldn't make them. But I guess in the long run, a bad decision is better than no decision at all. In conclusion to all these theories that we've gone over, a lot of them have good qualities, some bad. Basically, they all have their pros and cons. Um, they all do point towards a common goal, and that is to be more efficient, more effective. A lot of them have a lot in common. I think a few of these will be best when used with another theory that we went over, like Taylor's theory with Phillips' theory. You have the structure of one person for one job, one for another job, but you also have the leadership, leading with rather than over. um, it's you got to find a happy medium, because you got to care for your workers, but you also want your workers to be efficient. I hope everybody has a good week 2, and I wish you well in the assignments if they're not completed yet. Alrighty, have a good one.